before we start any presentation at Royal Roads, we also always acknowledge the lands that we're on. So Royal Roads University is located on the traditional lands of the Kosepsum and the Lekwungen ancestors and families who've been here for thousands of years, and we're really grateful to be able to do the work that we can do here. And I'm grateful to work on campus here today. Often I work from home as well, and I'm grateful to work on the traditional lands of the Cohort peoples as well when I'm working in my other office. So always just want to take a moment to reflect on where we are, no matter where we're joining from today. And speaking of which, just looking up at the chat box here, we have folks joining from Victoria. Lots of Victoria, wonderful. All right, a local crowd today, so that is awesome. So today we're going to be talking about the Bachelor of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies program. So my name is Shelley Jones. I'm an education specialist here at the university, but I'm thrilled to be joined by some of the experts on this program. So we have Dr. Shelley Jones here, who is the program head for the BAIS program, and BAIS is the acronym, just if we say that throughout the presentation today. We also have Willem van Doesburg, who is the Interdisciplinary Studies program advisor. And then we're also joined by Clea Roddick, who is a graduate from the BAIS program. We'll be doing a bit of an interview portion a little bit further down into the presentation. So really thrilled to be diving into all of the aspects of this program. We're also joined by a few folks behind the scenes. So we're joined by Selena Kunar, who is here to help us out if we have any tech challenges today or anything like that. So if you are having any issues with Zoom or anything like that, she can help you out if you want to send her a private message or anything. And we're also joined by Rhonda White, one of our enrollment advisors, and she'll be helping to answer any questions in the chat box and everything like that. So to go over our agenda briefly today, we're going to be going over a bit of an overview of the Royal Roads University experience, what it's like to be a student with us. Then we'll go over some program information. Then we'll dive into our interview with Clea, and then we'll be going over the application requirements and process throughout the end. Alrighty, so why would you explore coming to Royal Roads University? There's a few points on the slide, and to start off, the first one here is we see life as a qualification. So when you're applying to Royal Roads, we really take a look at who you are holistically in that application. So obviously we look at things like educational experience and your work history, but also things like volunteer and your life experiences in general, because we really think that that really can contribute to your success in the program and what you bring to the program that will help out your classmates as well. The next one on here is profs who know your name. So you won't find at Royal Roads the traditional university experience where you sit in a large auditorium with sometimes hundreds of other students and you don't really get to know your professor too well. Here we have pretty small class sizes, so that means that you can really work with your professors to achieve your goals and help you out throughout the whole class. And then with that, anybody else you communicate with at the university, it's always on a first names first basis. So whether that's student services, the program team that helps our programs to run, financial aid, anything like that, it's always a very personalized experience. The next one on here is learning based on life. So anything that you learn throughout your programs is going to be very current and have the ability to address the challenges that we're seeing out in the world today. So we have what we call here scholar practitioners who teach in all of our classes. And what that means is these folks are either doing current work and or research in the field that they're teaching in. And that means that everything that you're going to be learning in the class is very current as well and can be directly applied to the workplace. Next, connections for life. So in many of our programs, we do have a cohort model. And in this one, you have the unique ability to go into many different classrooms and meet a lot of different people. And we have a pretty big emphasis on teamwork and team projects at Royal Roads. So that means that you can build these really awesome connections throughout all of your classes that can often be a network that you can draw on both professionally and personally far past once you graduate from the program. And the next one on here, we were built differently. So over 25 years ago, we were built with a mandate to really offer something that can cater to those who might want to keep working while they're going to school, potentially even full time, so they don't have to take a step back from other parts of their lives to be able to continue on with their education. So we offer online education since the beginning, and that means that we have many, many students from all over the world taking our programs, and it creates a really dynamic experience in the classroom as well. If you have not been to our campus before, here's a little bit of a snapshot. So on the top left-hand corner here, you can see Hatley Castle. So this is a pretty big focal point in the center of our campus. It was built in the early 1900s by the Dunsmuir family, and it is used today as a working building. We have staff in there. Sometimes we have classes and talks in there. It's also used for film projects and weddings and things like that. So there's always a lot of activity going on in this part of the campus. And then if you're going, you can kind of see around the campus, there's a lot of trees, and that is just kind of the start of our whole network of trails that we have. You can see in the top right-hand corner, a snapshot of some of our trails. We're actually on over 500 acres of old growth forest. So if you do love nature, there's lots of areas for you to go out and explore. And as well, we are right on the water. So the bottom left-hand corner is a photo of Esquimalt Lagoon. This is a wonderful spot to check out wildlife if you like that sort of thing. It's also a bird sanctuary. So lots to see down there, and also just a really tranquil place to go for a walk if you have a break between classes or things like that. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, it's just a bit of an ode to the fact that we've been doing online learning for over 25 years. So we really encourage you, wherever you're learning from, to make your place a part of your learning and integrate that into what is happening in the classroom. So in this program, we'll get into a little bit more, but you might take a lot of classes online. You might have the opportunity to come on campus for a short residency and things like that. So there will be opportunities for you to come on campus when it is safe to do so, of course, because we're still in our global pandemic here. But we also invite everyone to come to campus on convocation and things like that as well. Next on here, we just want to acknowledge that we are in an Ashoka U Changemaker campus. So this is a designation that we're very proud of. It's been given to a select number of institutions, and it means that the education that we provide is very interdisciplinary, it's very entrepreneurial, and it's very solutions oriented. So that is what you can expect to be infused throughout all of our programs that you can take here at Royal Roads. And with that, I will hand it over to Shelley to take us through the program structure a little bit more. And I will say, I think I forgot to mention this at the start, but if you have any questions at all, feel free to type them into the chat box throughout the whole webinar, and we'll be sure to get to them whenever we can. All right, Shelley, over to you.
Okay, great, thank you. Thanks, Christy. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program structure of BAIS. Next slide, please. Thank you. And who is BAIS for? Well, most of our students have had some working experience. Many have completed 2 full years of undergraduate at another institution. Some haven't completely completed the 2 years, and we'll talk about flexible admission, and what that means. But generally, students who come to the program have an interest in interdisciplinary approaches to studying and to learning and to addressing sort of real life issues. And so our undergraduate program areas are communication, justice studies, business, and environmental practice or science. However, we have options where you can bring in other courses as well, so you can expand these areas a little bit. Students come, as I said, to investigate really the intersections of the disciplines and how they can contribute to the various issues that we're dealing with now. I think is increasingly we begin looking at issues such as climate crisis and climate change and COVID, the pandemic. We're realizing how necessary it is to bring that interdisciplinary lens to looking at these issues. But we also acknowledge that all of the students, most students that come are looking to do a career or do a sort of academic program, which is very much aligned with their career and their research interests. Some are wanting to move in a particular area in their career. And so we work closely with the students to design schedules with them so that hopefully they're able to attain their academic goals that will inform their future. And we're also working with students who are needing a flexible program or wanting a flexible program. You can take, as Christy mentioned, online courses. You can take blended courses, some residency on-campus courses, and also in areas, as I mentioned before, that we may not have the kind of course that you're looking for, you can transfer in up to 12 credits, which is 4 3-credit courses typically at another institution. So the structure of BAIS is a little different than most undergraduate university programs. In fact, it's very different because it's a personalized program which is developed in consultation with the program head and with the program advisor. And as we mentioned, it can be done online, it can be blended, or it can be on campus courses. So it's really up to what is going to suit you best. So the structure is you begin the BAIS program coming into basically year 3 of an undergraduate degree, taking 3 mandatory courses which are online. One is INDS 300, which is writing across disciplines, and this introduces you to the different kinds of writing that you're going to need within different disciplines, because they do stylistically vary, and it's useful to know this when you're going to be submitting assignments in different disciplinary areas. INDS 310, which is an introduction to interdisciplinary studies. And this course is designed to help you understand how to approach interdisciplinarity by bringing together different disciplines, synthesizing information, knowledge, presenting that in a cohesive way. And then we have INDS 400, which is Global Perspectives on Indigenous Ways of Knowing, looking at non-traditional academic methodologies, knowledge epistemologies. How do we, increasingly we're recognizing the need to have different perspectives on and different understandings of the way that we're engaging with the planet and with each other. And so this is a course that really looks at Indigenous perspectives and how this can inform our understandings. 42 credits are taken at the excuse me, 3rd and 4th year levels in academic specializations. And again, with the ability to transfer in courses taken prior to the program if you have these. And 9 credits are taken for your professional focus area. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So your program total is 60 credits. One second. So you have an option of taking an internship. This is an elective and worth 6 credits. And this can be very helpful or useful to students who are looking to maybe break into a new area. And so, for example, if you were wanting to perhaps gain some experience in the NGO sector, you may take an internship with a particular NGO. And we have a structured set of assignments that you would complete as you're taking your internship, but you would also be gaining the experience that would be helping you in terms of completing your program, but also hopefully towards any kind of career aspirations you might have. The internships can be taken in person locally in your local area, or they can be taken online. Basically, you can take them anywhere in the world as long as they meet the criteria. Some students choose not to take this because it's not, they don't see it as being beneficial to their program, but others who have taken it have found that they've gained some extremely valuable experience, as well as possibly making some connections to take into your future work. And the professional focus courses, we have two, and these sort of wrap up your BAIS program. And this is a different model than most undergraduate programs in that you're working one-on-one with a supervisor. And it's a bit more of a graduate studies model, actually. And I think it's one of the several wonderful features of the BAIS program, because you get to really choose your focus area for 9 credits of your program. So you and your supervisor will decide on what it is your professional focus will be and how you'll go about doing that. So INDS 417, the independent study, is very much a preparation for your final research paper or your project. And this is where you would do a literature review. You would look at research policies, documents that are of relevance and interest to your final research paper or project. And then in INDS 490, you have the choice of doing a research paper, which is typically a secondary research paper, or a project where you can do some alternative form of a senior level presentation of your knowledge. Examples might be, you could do a film, for example. You could do a graphic novel. You could do some kind of a website mock-up. So you would discuss this with the program head and the supervisor, but there are options there that may suit your particular focus better than a paper. So when you graduate from the BAIS program, you're really taking with you a range of courses that have been done in different disciplines, but also you've then had the opportunity to, at the end, bring it all together and synthesize it to tailor it to your own specific needs and future goals in terms of your career. A sample program may be that you're interested in social justice and communication. Maybe you're looking at entering an NGO, the nonprofit world. And in this example, maybe you would like to work in the nonprofits and government in the area of women and First Nations issues. So you would, if you came into the BAIS program at standard admission, you would come in with 60 credits from another institution. And then you would complete the 2 years of the BAIS program as suited your interests. And the other thing with the idea of a professional focus and tailoring the program to your specific needs is that you are able to declare an area of concentration. And that is useful in terms of explaining your program to others in a simple way. So you can say you have a Bachelor of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies, but you can be more specific by saying, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies with a concentration, for example, in sustainability and leadership, or communication and environmental practice, whatever it is you have decided to focus your program on.
Alrighty, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm wondering, Willem, would you like to take over at this point to share the program guide, or should we, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Good morning, everyone. I apologize in advance. My camera has decided to stop working. An update came about and it doesn't work. So I was going to do this with my microphone. So thank you, Shelley, for giving this great layout of the program. And it's actually quite so my name is Willem, I am the program advisor. So I will be one of the first persons you will probably speak with when you go through the application and you're trying to find out what can this actually look like for me, like on paper, which course will happen when. So we have for that, and it's quite a difficult program to understand. So that's why we have a website. It's a program guide. We have developed that. And this is what you're looking at. It's just to iterate again the structure of the program. So I see it always as 3 parts. Part 1 is those 9 credits program required courses, right? Part 2 is that academic specialization, 42 credits. And then part 3 is a professional focus. Part 1 needs to happen first, and then you will segue into part 2, the 42 credits academic specialization, right? And once you've completed that, you will move on to the professional focus. But for those 42 credits, divided by 3, depending if you bring courses in, of course, each course has 3 credits at the Royal Roads. You can then have a look at the program guide and decide how that can look like for you. So, for example, we have at the Royal Roads, and I don't know if Christy, if you spoke about that, we have a blended, what we call blended course options. And usually it's a course that, or multiple courses actually, that are then offered together. And this is an example here from the professional communication, the bachelor here at the Royal Roads. You can then basically take the first part of that program, 4 courses. And these residencies is usually a few weeks online, maybe 1, 2, or 3 weeks on campus, depends on the courses, and then again online afterwards. So you can include one of those. We have only 2 that we have access to, but online courses, we have then many other options that you can then add to get to that 42 credits. And you can see those disciplines here: business management, justice, environment. And even we have ourselves, also we have some elective courses for you. And you can basically broaden your schedule together with courses from those areas. And interdisciplinarity, a very, very basic definition I really liked. I heard it last time on a conference somewhere, is that basically research questions you cannot answer from one area of study. So one area as being, for example, justice. You have several disciplines, including to get to that question you have in mind, and that question could be a question you have that you want to tackle in your professional focus. So it's a research question. It doesn't have to be a well-defined research question, but it has to be an idea that you want to work towards, because those courses that you choose will help you answer that question. For example, with justice, you can take gender and diversity, you can take an indigenous justice perspective, and I matched it up maybe with a more of an entrepreneurial focus, human side of business or strategy. And so have a look at this program guide, and that will give you a good starting idea of what you can do with the BAIS program. And as you see, there's quite some flexibility to the course choices that you can make. I'll leave it with that, Christy. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Willem. It's really great to be able to get that walkthrough and overview of the program. And it's such a cool program once you kind of can learn about all the possibilities within it. So that's wonderful. And at this point, we are now going to hear from our wonderful alumni about their experience in this program as well, to provide a little bit more context. So Clea, thank you so much for being here today and joining us from Salmon Arm. I guess to start off our informal interview, I'm hoping you can maybe just tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey before you took the program, and what brought you to decide to take the program.
Thanks, Christy. Good morning, everyone. Hello, Willem, and also Shelley. And it's great.
Hi, Clea.
Hi, Clea.
And yeah, thanks for having me today. I'm really happy for this opportunity because I feel like the BAIS degree really did set me up for sort of the next portion of my life. So I'm happy to give back in this way. And I do live in the interior of British Columbia on the traditional territory of the Secwepemc peoples near Salmon Arm. And I have a background actually in music. My diploma is in contemporary music and technology that I took from Selkirk College. And I worked in the music industry for about 15 years in Calgary. And then I was moving to a more rural community and I wanted to complete a Bachelor of Arts so I could kind of move on with academic and career goals. And so I had been looking into Royal Roads actually for quite some time, and I was really interested in some of the master's programs, but I could see basically where I was at education-wise that I was going to have to complete a BA first. And so researching my options into different schools and how to complete an undergrad, I really was drawn to the BAIS program because it was a way for me to kind of ladder everything that I had done so far academically and professionally. And then I could also gain knowledge in areas that I was interested in and where I wanted to go. So it really helped that I had a bit of a sense of direction where I was hoping to get to. And I really appreciated how I could tailor the program to really fit those goals.
Perfect. And yeah, your background is so cool. And I could see it being useful having like a really unique and customizable program. And I'm wondering, what courses did you end up kind of taking, or which topics generally throughout the program to kind of help you meet your goals?
Yeah, and just a shout out to Willem, and also at the time it was Matthew Hines that was the program head that I worked with. They were both very wonderful to speak with and kind of helped me to kind of define, because it's not to say that as a new student, you're coming in knowing exactly what you want to do. You have a general sense of direction, and it's really helpful to kind of discuss options, and they were able to help me with some of those choices. But I did find the foundational courses in the interdisciplinary courses that started us out to be really helpful and grounding into understanding and feeling like, oh, I'm an interdisciplinary scholar, like I understand what that even means. So that really helped me. I was really drawn to environmental courses, even though my background is in music. My other passion is ecology and environmental practice. And so this was a wonderful way for me to get a chance to kind of work into that side, even though I didn't have any previous academic background. So I took courses like sustainable development, environmental ethics. I also did take the global perspectives and Indigenous ways of knowing. It wasn't required at that time, but I came into this presentation, I was going to say, I recommend everyone take this. So I'm glad to see that's actually now a requirement, because it's an awesome course. And I also took leadership. And then knowing I wanted to pursue a master's degree, I took research methods as well. And then a highlight was the communications residency that we just were being shown by Willem there. Because it was a chance to come to campus. And Willem did encourage me to do that. And I just really am grateful to have had, especially now in COVID times, when I'm having to do my master's degree and all the residencies, we've actually had to stay home. So I have this like piece of Royal Roads campus in my heart from being there and walking the campus, but also the courses. It was fast paced, it was in person, and a good chance to bond with other students and work directly with staff. I would really recommend that if it's an option for people. Yeah, and then in terms of bringing out other courses, because I have a background in music, I also did take some upper level music courses from the University of Berkeley, which offers high level music courses online. So, and I was able to take those credits in, which I really appreciated. So I felt like I like Willem's word braiding. I felt like it was a really unique opportunity for me to kind of braid in my arts and music with environment and ecology.
Yeah, thank you, Clea. Just a little note, you're quite unique with bringing the music courses in. With the BAIS program, we have an individual learning plan. And in your case, those courses, they fit your program at large, because that was where your goal was, right? So it all depends on, if you want to bring in courses, what your end goal is, because the BAIS has space to do that, but it has to go and lead towards this interdisciplinary idea you have in mind, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that because I've never seen anybody bringing music courses into the bachelor program here with us at Royal Roads. That's why.
Well,
It's good.
The courses were specific to my program too, because I was taking songwriting courses. And so a lot of what I'm working on is like arts practice and how that logical
Absolutely.
identity.
Yeah.
It really did serve well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that is such a cool mix of courses. It's kind of like, if you can imagine it, it can be in this program, which is really cool. Shelley, I saw you unmute as well. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm really interested to if you could describe a little bit more about your professional focus and what that was and what that experience was like doing the directed studies and then the research project or paper. and how you were able to weave together those disciplines.
Yeah, so I feel like it was a lot of support from faculty that helped me with that, because as I was coming to the end, I didn't have a really clear idea of what I wanted to do in the research, but I knew the area that I wanted to work in, and I kind of felt, to be honest, a little bit like an oddball, because I felt like I was kind of bouncing between things. But it was a good conversation that I had with Matthew, who was the current program head, who kind of calmed me down and said, no, it's okay that you think about these things, like, you know, there's other members on our campus of our faculty that think this way, and I'll help you find a supervisor. So he actually matched me with Dr. Hilary Layton, who is the program head of the Masters in Environmental Education and Communication. And that is the program that I'm now currently in. So this was a goal for me, like, to complete the BAIS program was really, I was hoping to ladder towards a master's. And so that relationship was just like a very kind of perfect situation where I got connected with Dr. Layton to work through my senior research project. And then through doing that kind of helped me really understand that what I'm really working in is like place responsive practice in communities, like understanding place-based and sense of place education, and then how that relates to ecological issues like climate change, as well as social issues. So it was really the sustainable development course that I took in the BAIS program that kind of helped me understand how social and ecological systems are so interconnected. And that from there, that kind of, it started to all make sense. So it's kind of like, I felt like I had sort of a general target, and then it all sort of, as I completed the programs and got more knowledge and sort of a way to articulate what I was trying to get towards, and then the support of the staff. I feel like I'm meeting my academic goals, but I still feel like I'm kind of finding my own way, but I feel very supported by the university to do that.
That's great, actually, because I think that's one of the key aspirations we have with BAIS, is that we want you to meet your own goals, but be supported in the same way, because interdisciplinary studies, as you said, it's easy to bounce around a lot, but it's bringing it together, right? And that's sort of the key, and where we hope that when we do the directed studies and the final project, that you're really working one-on-one with that supervisor so that they can help you to bring that together. Can you talk a little bit about your final project then? What that was?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. My final project was basically the arts portion of it was that I did a lot of reflective journaling as well as poetry writing, but I did it in like a nature immersion process where, first of all, I did quite an extensive literature review based around ecological identity, because I was looking into how does arts practice related to ecological identity, and what future implications does that have for myself, as well as my work in the community and work with students. So I actually, it was quite an organic process where I did like a committed nature immersion over a period of about 9 weeks of going and journaling out at a place, they call it sit spot or place bonding, where you go to a very specific place. And I know Rural Roads people are nodding because you've heard of this before, but not everyone knows of this, like where you really start to develop a relationship with a place. And then I would journal, and then I would bring back my reflections. And then I kind of synthesized all the readings and the literature that I was studying with the poetry that I was creating. And then in the end, it was a paper that I came up with at the end. And all of this kind of worked towards what I'm doing in the community. Recently, I just within the last few months of the BAIS program, I helped to co-found a concert hall here in Salmon Arm. And so a lot of what I learned about kind of braiding in those social and ecological systems really worked in the context of understanding how like our community, the arts and cultural aspects of our community are so related to our ecological region and our sense of place. And so a lot of what I do as a director now in that capacity as sort of like an arts administrator is I'm kind of bringing in that interdisciplinary ideas into every aspect of our facility. And so, yeah, it's kind of like understanding the intersectionality of social and ecological issues and how that's really what an interdisciplinary practice is, I believe.
It's so interesting. I mean, that's fabulous, because I think some people might think, well, what does poetry and ecological studies have to do with music and real world application? And here you have perfectly described how this kind of interdisciplinarity and in the arts can be directly applied, right, to community and to careers. So that's, well, congratulations too on the center. That's fabulous.
Yeah, just to echo what you're saying, Shelley, like I went into, it's kind of funny because I was a little tired of the music industry. So I was like, okay, time to, grow up and be an adult and go back to school. But through this process in the university, actually, I was really taught through so many conversations and so much encouragement from different members of the faculty, how important the arts are and how important it was to honor that and to go back to that and keep bringing that in. And so I really felt like, as an artist at heart, it wasn't like I had to just put that on the shelf, be something else. It was like, no, that's a gift. Like, keep on bringing that, keep on returning that, bring that in. And now I feel stronger about how important the arts are overall, like as we process, climate change emotions and everything else going through COVID recovery. It's really, it really strengthened, I guess, my relationship with my own arts practice.
Oh, that's so great.
I was expecting to, so it really, yeah, I really appreciated that.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, it just shows like when we're facing challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, and really tough things like that, it's like it's going to take all of us from every single sector to be able to address things like that. So I think that's so cool that you're weaving it kind of in a new way into what you were doing before, into a new version of that. It's just amazing. And I also, I did some nature-based journaling throughout a different program at Royal Roads that I took, so I can attest to that being in a few of our different programs, and it's a really, really awesome practice. So that is really cool that that was a part of your final project as well. And I guess to dig into that sort of residency experience, because that's where I did a lot of that sort of work, so it kind of popped into my head again. Do you want to speak a little bit to like what was the experience in a residency, and then as well on the flip side of that, what was the experience of being in the online class like, and I guess your take on being a student in the classroom, what kind of projects that you worked on throughout that, I guess what kind of like schedule that you might have expected throughout each course, and like did you have lectures, and or was it more, I guess, group project based? There was a lot of questions in that one, but I guess if you would like to speak to your overall experience in your courses, that would be awesome.
Okay, for sure. The first thing that popped out when you were speaking was just that I feel like the interdisciplinary courses gave me the ability to speak a little bit to the different disciplines. And I think that's really helpful, like to know where you sit and what your strength is, but also just having a little bit of the language to be able, and that just helps on a community level to have those conversations I'm finding in my own community. And then in terms of the class experience, I'll just speak to the online portion first. To be completely honest, I was really overwhelmed in the first month because I was returning to school. I wasn't used to an academic load. I'm a strong writer, so I think that sort of saved me. But I was very overwhelmed with the learning curve initially of learning how to write a paper with all the proper APA and everything like that. But I did feel like the profs were very patient, and that was kind of the whole point. Like I became to the understanding that that's kind of the point of those first courses. They really kind of bring you into like how to start to communicate in an academic sphere. So while I felt really overwhelmed at first, I just wanted to say that to anyone that starts it, like, don't just keep going, just try to get through to the end of those courses, and then you'll find that you feel strong at the end and ready for the next step. It was definitely quite a commitment in terms of, well, I have 3 children also, so I had a lot of scheduling that I had to do for myself and carve out time. But I did find it was reasonable. Like, it wasn't ever like too much in terms of workload. I felt like it was about what I had expected for workload. And I did like the way a lot of every course almost has the anticipation that you will participate with your classmates. So the major thing that you do each week is participate in online discussion with your classmates, and that's through forums. I feel like that's really important to just dive right in there and have those conversations and really kind of get to know your classmates that way. And I felt like that brought a really strong sense of participating with other people, is to just get right in there into those conversations and learn. Like, you actually learn a lot through those discussion forums as everyone's processing what they're reading and learning. So I really appreciated that aspect of kind of more like a real classroom kind of a feel with those discussions. Every prof sets up their lecture a little different. So that's kind of course dependent. Like, some profs do have a time that they work out that works for everyone and meet weekly in a live context. Other profs do it differently. So that's a little bit dependent on the prof. But there always is some sort of a weekly lecture where you kind of get to have a deeper dive into your material. And then the assignments, I felt like the assignments were well paced. Like, I always felt like the assignments themselves there weren't too many assignments. Like, the main expectation is participation, so that you can kind of show what you're learning. So I felt like overall the course pace was rigorous, but really doable. And then the residency was hair straight back. It was the residency. I'm glad that, like, it comes at the right time, because you've already done courses, you know the flow, you kind of have this idea. And then the residency is more intensive, where you're doing 3 or maybe it's 4 courses now in a shorter time period. And so you have to treat it like an intensive. You have to put aside that time. The few online weeks leading up are pretty manageable, but then you definitely have to set aside complete block out of going to the campus and doing the residency, because it takes all your time, but in a wonderful way. Like, you just are completely immersed in that beautiful campus and you're meeting people. Everyone is really passionate and fun. And yeah, it was a great experience. I think I mentioned before, just to be face-to-face with people, and the faculty are exceptional. And so I felt just really happy to be there. And I would say, like, through every course in Royal Roads, I think it might be partly to do with the nature of the BAIS program that you're sort of choosing your courses. And so I felt motivated in every course, because every course was something that I wanted to take. So that was a real benefit, I think.
Oh, Clea, can I ask you a quick follow-up question, right? You first did those interdisciplinary courses, then you went into this kind of cohort-based program, right? With those 3 courses from communication. So how was it to constantly go back and forth into new courses? You took some environment courses online, then you picked up another communication course right online, perhaps with a different cohort. How was that to moving in and out of those spaces with different people?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, you have to enjoy it while it lasts, because there's the time period in the beginning where you are with the same cohort of everyone that's starting into interdisciplinary studies with you at the same time, and you become quite connected to those people, because you're working on projects with them, you're chatting with them for the first semester. And then from there, actually, there was another time where I was doing other online courses. So after that, you're kind of out of the nest and you're started into your own coursework. And then at the communication residency, the majority of the people were new. There were a few BAIS students that were there, which was really cool to meet them there in that context. And then I also met the whole cohort of the communications degree. And the amazing thing is, because we met face-to-face and had such close personal work, and teamwork is quite intense, I stayed in touch with the cohort of the communications degree, like right through the end until they all graduated, because there was a Facebook group and everyone just, and I still am, you know, friends with some of them. And one woman actually, who had also taken the BAIS program is now in the same master's degree as me. So we have that sort of like long history.
Yeah. I recall us meeting on campus, because we never see our students, right? As staff and as faculty here. So when you're on campus, we try to meet with, and I recall meeting with you.
Yeah.
And I remember what you said, hair straight back. That's what I remember from that meeting. That's the best metaphor. Back to you, Christy.
You just have to be ready for it. And you're right, you are ready for it, because by then you've had a lot of online time, and it was kind of like great to do that face-to-face thing and then back into the online courses. So if possible to take the residency, I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, thank you so much for your thoughtful answer. Like, that paints such a full picture of what it's like to be a student in our courses, and great description of the residency too. I love that. I guess just looking at the time, we are going to wrap up with a few final slides on just the application details and all of those sorts of requirements. But as a final question, is there any pieces of advice that you would like to give to anybody who's considering taking the BAIS program?
Well, I would definitely recommend it. And I feel like it's important for you to do some kind of self-reflection initially, to have like a sense of direction of where you want to go. But don't feel like you have to have that completely all figured out, because Willem is here and Shelley is here, and I know that they're wonderful to just kind of have those. Sometimes it really helps to just have that conversation. I know it really helped me, and overall this program has helped me so much move forward in my professional life, and even given me a strong foundation in my personal life and relationships. So highly recommended, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I mean, it's really always illuminating, right, to hear about the experience and different perspectives. And also, I love to hear the way that this has kind of played out in real life for you in a positive way. So yeah, thanks so much, Clea.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's been so amazing. Yeah, and please do stay in touch as well. It's so great to be able to keep in touch with people who've taken the program and are now on to different programs. And, you know, it's just great to see your journey. So with that, we're going to share a few final slides about the application details. Clea, if you do need to head out at this point, totally fine, but you're welcome to stick around as well. And then if anybody has any questions that have come up, we're happy to answer those as well as we go along. So I'm just going to share my screen again. All right, everybody can see my slides? Yeah, perfect. All righty, so to dig into the application details a bit more, we have standard admissions and flexible admissions. So I'll start off with the standard admissions first. And what that would look like is having a diploma or 60 credits in arts and sciences fields of study, and then a minimum of 24 second year credits with a minimum GPA of a B from a recognized post-secondary institution. So if you do not fit that criteria exactly, don't count yourself out quite yet, because we also have flexible admissions. So this would be for applicants who do not meet the requirements that are on the last slide there. It could be, look like normally 3 to 5 years of professional experience in a related area, and the ability to demonstrate the competencies expected of a graduate with a 2-year degree in the arts or sciences. So this is assessed on a case-by-case basis. So we welcome you to reach out if you're unsure of what your background would look like in relation to these application requirements and how you will fit into the program and things like that. Our enrollment team is a wonderful resource to be able to dig into that a little bit more. And we really do, like I said at the start of the presentation, like to look at who you are holistically when you are applying to our programs. Okay, so a little bit more about how to apply. So to start off the process, there is an application fee of $128.81. And then with that, you submit some supporting documents. So the first one there is your official transcripts. Those need to arrive to us sealed from whichever institutions you have attended in the past. With COVID-19 right now, there are some institutions that are doing email transcripts instead, which we also can accept. So don't worry about that if there is some different practices happening at a university you've attended in the past. And as well, those do, like I mentioned, need to arrive sealed. So we always like to say, if you are curious to know what your grades have been, if it's been a number of years since you've been out of school, for example, it's always best to get a second set of transcripts mailed to yourself so you can take a look at those and open it up and then have one sent to us directly so it's sealed. And then as well, a proposed course schedule. Willem or Shelley, I'm wondering if you want to speak for a moment about like what goes into that proposed course schedule.
Yeah, I could, if you like. So
Yes, please, Willem.
The program guide that I shared earlier, that is the start of the learning plan. So the individual learning plan, we have a process for that. So once you have applied, or even before applying if needed, you can I will send you that individual learning plan document. Again, kind of guides you through a couple of little exercises. And one of them is giving an idea of the courses that interest you. Sometimes you have a very specific idea in mind. And with that idea in mind, you can then even suggest some externals. And then we can then all together, leaving space for those externals, as well as having a full overview of all the Royal Roads courses that you would like to, that fits you and that you like to take. That will lead them to that schedule, and the schedule becomes part of the application. And the reason for that is that then the adjudicator or adjudicators, if you're a flexible admission pathway candidate, the adjudicators can have a clear idea of what you would like to do, and that will then also match your personal statement of what your intention is. So that's part of the application process. Does that answer the question, Christy?
Yes, perfectly. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Willem. So yeah, and then next here under the may be requested section. So if you would be under the flexible admissions umbrella, we would let you know, and then we may request some additional documents. So with that here, the first one on the list is a detailed resume. So this one can actually be quite a bit lengthier than your typical job application resume, for example, because we really want you to use up however much space you need to communicate all of your educational background, your work history, but also things like the volunteer history, any specific projects that you've worked on, conferences you've attended, anything that you think would contribute to your eligibility. We want you to include that here. And then to go with that, there's the personal statement that Willem was just mentioning. So this is a great place to really put down onto paper what you want to get out of the program, a little bit about your history, again, which types of courses or focus areas you'd want to work within. So this is a great place for us to really get to know who you are and if it would be a good fit as a program for you. And then the last one in here is 2 letters of reference. So it's a good standard to have one of those references come from a professional background, one of them come from a educational background, but we do recognize if it's been a number of years, if you've been out of school or anything like that, there is a little wiggle room to have, say, 2 professional references or 2 educational references, whatever that may look like for your circumstance. But it is always a great practice to have those references be sent directly to us from whoever is referring you and from their professional email addresses, so we can kind of confirm who they are and everything like that. So some key dates. Our next intake date we have is September 6th 2022, and the application deadline for that is June 6th, 2022. So it may seem like it's a ways away still, but it's always great to get an early start on thinking through your application and all of those things, because we do what we call rolling admissions. So what that means is we don't wait until that application deadline to be able to tell everyone whether they're in the program or not. We can tell you quite early on if you get your application in early as well. So if you do want to have some more time to be able to figure out any scheduling, planning that you may need to work out in your personal life, making arrangements with family and work and things like that, and also working on the financial aspect of funding your studies, it's always a good idea to get that application in as soon as possible. So speaking of financial planning, we have a wonderful financial aid team. If you do want to reach out and learn about the different resources that will be available to you, they are super helpful. I also have worked with them when I was, before I worked here, when I was taking a program at Royal Roads, and they were amazing. They really helped me navigate like the student loan process and identifying different awards and bursaries that I'd be eligible for. So it doesn't hurt to definitely look into this option, because it's definitely a component that you'll want to consider as you're looking into going back to school. And we also have, as I've mentioned throughout this presentation, a wonderful enrollment team. Rhonda is one example of our stellar team. She's been helping us out in the chat box today, but if you do want to reach out, I think she's popped her email in the chat box, but it's here on the screen as well. So if you'd be applying as a Canadian student, you would contact that top email address there, the learn.more@royalroads.ca. And then if you'd be applying as an international student, you would reach out to learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. So they are always here to help. If you want to hop on a call with them or a video session or things like that, they're happy to chat. So it's definitely something that is a wonderful resource that is there for you to use to your advantage as you're looking into this program some more. And at this time, I just want to do a final call out for any final questions, and I'm going to scroll through the chat box. Rhonda is popping lots of really helpful links in there if you do want to click on any of those and refer back to them later on. Don't see anything that we've missed in the chat box so far, but Shelley or Willem, is there any other final words that you'd want to share before we head out for today?
No, just thanks so much, Christy and Clea. It was really nice to, again, hear from you, Clea. And yeah, any questions anyone might have, please, feel free to contact us. We're always happy to talk about the program.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Shelley and Christy, for giving us this webinar space here to discuss this. If anyone is interested in seeing how BAIS can look like for you, just send me an email. My email address is in the chat box, and having that schedule in front of you often answers almost all your questions of how it can look like. So that's a real eye-opener. That's all. Thank you.
Perfect. Alrighty. Well, with that in mind, we're at 10:02 already. So thank you for sticking around, for all those who have attended today. And thank you, Shelley and Willem, and to Selena and Rhonda, who helped us behind the scenes. And of course, Clea for as well, really offering that awesome take on the program. So with that, we hope that you have an awesome day, and please do reach out if you do have any questions come up. Thanks, everybody.